debate, Senator Wells.
Thank you.
You have 15 minutes.
That will be up to the chamber. So, colleagues, thank you for all your interventions. I appreciate all sides of this and the discussions around it. I was accused in one of the interventions of being a climate change denier. I can assure you I'm not. I see it every day in my home province. I live near the coast and I see it. I spent 35 years in the fishing industry and I see significant changes in the fishing industry, all based on climate change. And so I'm not a denier and I believe in it, and I believe we have to do something about it. But I believe that what we have to do has to be a global effort. Colleagues, I'm going to talk about the amendment. And I hope to take only 15 minutes or less. The key part of the amendment is the order in council, or governor in council. The governor in council may, by order, which is what is proposed to be removed, establish the text of a resolution providing for the postponement and specifying the period of the postponement. For those colleagues who don't know what an order in council is, it's a cabinet directive. We call it an order in council. Federal order in council is a statutory instrument by which the Governor-General, which is the executive power of the Governor in Council, acting on the advice and consent of the Queen's Privy Council, expresses a decision. So that's what an order in council is. It's essentially a cabinet decision. The specific wording that is proposed to be removed in Senator Moncion's amendment was taken word for word out of another bill called the Fair Rail for Grain Farmers Act bill, and that was, I believe that was enacted, I think it was 2014. And that was on something called interswitching. It was an interswitching clause which allowed Cabinet very quickly and when necessary to allow, if there was a problem with moving grain from one rail line to the marketplace, and there was in 2015, and this order in council, this wording allowed Cabinet to say you can switch that grain to another line, and that was to prevent the grain from rotting in the rail cars or in the silos waiting for other rail cars to come. That's exactly what happened. And in 2015, the current government under Prime Minister Trudeau used that provision, used that Fair Rail for Grain Farmers Act interswitching clause to allow grain to be moved to another rail line and get to market quickly. It had to be done quickly. If it went to, as the amendment proposes, to a motion in the House and a motion in the other place and a motion in the Senate for debate, where each chamber would instruct on their opinion, that would take too long, and certainly would have taken too long in the case of the interswitching clause, which is word for word what is in the coming into force section of this bill, and which is what Senator Moncion is proposing to change. So that's so I wanted to deal with that because no one's talked about it in this discussion regarding the amendment, and I wanted to. In the other place, in the Agriculture Committee, colleagues, there was an amendment made that changed when it talked about the length of time that this would be in effect, and this bill, if passed unamended, would be in effect. There'd be a sunset clause at 8 years. The original bill had 10 years, and there was an amendment proposed by the New Democrat, Alistair McGregor. He proposed that it go from 10 years down to 8 years. That had light debate and was passed without votes. So it was all fully agreed. So there was significant consideration, or some consideration, and agreed to consideration by all parties that were represented in the committee, in the Agriculture Committee in the House of Commons. It was agreed to go to 8 years. So this amendment by Senator Moncion is proposing to strike that and not have it at 8 years. So the same issue regarding, sorry, not the 8 years, but the same issue on the Governor and Council was debated at committee and defeated in the House, in the other place, Agricultural Committee. And then, of course, it came to our committee here in the Senate, where it was defeated once again. And we often say, colleagues, and I said it in my report stage speech, that we are here to make bills better. We've all heard that, and perhaps many of us have said it. I know I've said it. And in fact, this amendment does not make this bill better. It makes it the opposite. So, colleagues, I want to talk about now Senate amendments to a private member's bill. So we say, oh, it's going to kill the bill if it goes back to the other place. It'll kill the bill. But it's, you know, it's an easy thing to say. It's very easy to say. But I'm going to explain how the bill is killed if it's a Senate amendments to a private member's bill. And I'm reading from House of Commons Procedure and Practice, 3rd edition, 2017, which states, when the item reaches the top of this, so it's sent back to the other place. So when the item reaches the top of the order of precedence, it is considered during private member's hour. And if not disposed of at the end of the hour, it is placed again at the bottom of the order of precedence. Senator Kuzner will know about this. Senator Ringett will know as well, Speaker Ringett. So if this bill, as a Senate amended private member's bill, goes back to the House, and I asked for the list of the bills that it would sit under if it went back. And there are 25 private members' bills in front of it. And they're dealt with 1 hour a day. And in fact, since the fall economic statement, they've done no 1 hour discussions. That's called the private members' hour. So they've done none since the fall economic statement, and that fall economic statement debate will continue to push the private members' hours ahead and ahead. So right now, even if this bill passed today with an amendment, it would go into the line and it would not be addressed for the first time until February 8th, 2024. And because it's a private members' bill amended by the Senate, it has a different rule than a private member's bill amended by the other place. There's a time limit, there's a time cap on a private member's bill that comes from the House, and that cap is 2 hours. So after 2 hours, it's dispatched. If it's a Senate amended private member's bill, there's no time limit. So it can be addressed during that hour. It can be addressed, and if it's not completed, it goes to the bottom of the list again in the order of precedence. And then when it comes back up, it can be addressed again. And all opponents of this bill have to do is throw up speakers. And once that hour passes, it goes back to the bottom of the list, and it comes back around again in 25 days or however many bills are in front of it for that hour.
Sitting days.
For that hour, and then it goes to and then it's debated. It can be spoken on for 4 people for 15 minutes, and if it's not dealt with, it goes back. That, colleagues, is how to kill a bill without actually saying I've killed it. And I know that in the other place, there are 15 PMBs that are under amendment now that are being discussed at private members' hour, and I have the list. I have the list of all of them. There are 6 Senate public bills amended that are being addressed over there, and there are 2 motions which also fit into that private members' hour. So when we say the bill will be killed, it's easy to kill the bill without killing it, without actually killing it. You just let it die because you throw up speakers, and then it goes to the bottom of the order. So I wanted to explain that because I thought that's important, because I think that's what's at play here. And I think, you know, now I didn't know that before, but now I know it. And now we all know it. The last thing I wanted to talk about, colleagues, is, and I talked about it when I spoke the other day. I can't remember which day it was, my last speech on this. I took on this bill because I thought it would be an easy one. I thought it was a principled stand I could take. It's a question of farmers and ranchers and growers and those who provide food. It's not those who provide, you know, tennis rackets and rubber tires. It's people who provide food for us. They have a hard enough time. Every obstacle that you can imagine is thrown in front of them every year. They have high costs anyway. But then we have the effects of climate change, whether it's flood or drought. or maybe both of those in the same year. That can ruin crops. It can damage animals. We can have significantly high temperatures, and we've seen that over the past couple of years with the heat domes out west. That kills animals. And we've seen the wildfires and the brush fires and the grass fires, which remove land from being used for farming or ranching or growing. So, colleagues, I thought this was an easy one. I thought, this is a real motherhood issue that I could comfortably stand behind and do it on principle, because I believe in climate change, but I believe in those who provide food for us, those who provide food for the world. Canada is a major grain and seed provider to the world. So when I think about the troubles that farmers might have, whether it's weather-related, whether it's price-related, because they don't always choose the price, that's chosen in the Chicago market or at some other negotiating table. So they don't choose the price, and they don't always choose their costs either. Their costs are given to them. They have to buy grain dryers, and we heard from Senator Batters, $300,000 for a grain dryer. And so they have to do lease payments unless they can buy it with cash, and I don't know many farmers that can. Any of the things that they have to buy, usually it's on a lease program, and those costs, and certainly now they're going up because interest rates are increasing. So when I think about the obstacles that farmers and ranchers and growers specifically, we all have our own problems and we all have obstacles, but they have obstacles every year, whether it's pestilence, whether it's viruses, whether it's things like diseases in their crops. All of those things are things that they have to fight against every time. And every year, each year, they might have a good year and they might have only a few of those obstacles. But generally, those hit all the time, and they're always costly. Whether you lose crop or whether you lose animals or whether you lose time, that's losing money. That's losing money. And what this bill does, it allows farmers to keep some of their money and not, and I believe, increasing a tax on a fuel, on a transition fuel, unlike, and I asked the question to Senator Dalphond about the price signal. What's the, and I didn't hear an answer that I understood. What's the price signal? What's the signal to the marketplace if you give an exemption for diesel, but you don't give an exemption for natural gas or propane? So whenever I try to sell the idea of the bill, I start there because it doesn't make sense. So, you know, my thoughts on this bill are clear. I don't take the debate lightly. I appreciate for sure all those who are supportive of the bill unamended, but I also appreciate forcing me to think about the arguments of those who are against the bill. I get it. Not everyone thinks the same way I do. And that's probably a good thing. But I wanted to close in saying, if this is the closing of this part of the debate on the amendment, Senator Moncion's amendment, that here's what it actually does. It takes the power out of the hands of Cabinet to make a move on whether to increase or decrease the sunset or keep it as it is at 8 years. And that necessity of the Cabinet, which is granted to the Cabinet under the provisions of this bill, is there, like it was under the interswitching, which was necessary, and it's still in place to be used and to be used by any government until time that's removed. But colleagues, I just wanted to say that I think this is a very good bill. It helps our farmers, it helps our growers, it helps our ranchers, and ultimately it helps our consumers, it helps our economy. Thanks very much.
Sénateur Dalphond, Sénatrice Dasco, des questions?
Oui.
Question?
L'honorable sénateur, pendant...
Would the honourable senator take a question?
I will, Senator Dalphond.
A very short questions. Are you aware that in the other place you can trade your place on the things? You're 25, but one of your members for your own caucus is number 2. You can trade with him, and then you go straight up the top?
Thanks, Senator Dalphond. Of course, I am aware of that, but that doesn't stop it still doesn't stop the process. You can move up the line, but you can quickly be moved down the line as well by running that 1 hour debate for the hour by putting up 4 speakers. That's simple. And there's no guarantees that you'll be able to switch with someone. Everyone who has a private member's bill takes these things very seriously. They've waited for years, perhaps, to do it. They've won a lottery that puts them in the front of the line. And I think it's a heavy sacrifice and still no guarantee.
Senator Dasko, you have a question. Senator Wells, you're out of time. Are you asking for 5 more minutes?
I would take Senator Dasko's question.
Senator Wells is asking to reply to 1 more question. Do you agree, honourable senators? Agreed. Senator Dasko.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Senator, for your comments. You did say, and I believe you, that you are not a carbon denier. Climate change denier.
I am a carbon denier.
Okay, sorry, climate change denier. And I've been inspired by Senator Ringet's phrase, "the cat is out of the bag," in her speech. And I understand that you do support the bill because you are concerned about farmers. So I do believe that for sure. But is this bill also an effort to kill the carbon tax? Thank you.
So thank you so much for your question, Senator Dasko. In my second reading speech, I said very specifically, this bill is not about whether you like or dislike the carbon tax. Because I knew if that was the debate we were going to have in this chamber on this bill, the room would be divided and there would be no opportunity to bring some unity to the debate. So the fact that there's a carbon tax is an instrument of the government. I accept that. They were duly elected to lead, and they've put policies in place. I don't like them all. Some I like, some I don't like, but that's the one that I accept is there. So this is, as we've talked about before, I think a fair and reasonable exemption, and it's in line with the design of the carbon tax bill in the first place that allowed for exemptions. And I think this is a reasonable exemption. And in fact, it's probably, if we're talking about climate change, it's probably a more reasonable exemption than the existing one that's there for diesel and gasoline. Thank you for your question.
Any more questions, Senator Laboucan-Benson?
Would the senator take another question?
You have 3 minutes, Senator Wells. Oh, yes, we had agreed 1 question. So, unless Senator Wells, you are asking to answer 1 other question. Well,
thank you. I will take Senator Laboucan-Benson's question if the chamber wishes.
Is it agreed? No, Senator Platt doesn't. Okay, colleagues, any on debate?
No.
Senator. Sorry, I heard a no.
Okay.
Okay. So we're
Thank you. I didn't hear it once when you asked.
Okay.
Apologies.
Okay. So any other person on debate? Question. Senators ready for the questions? In amendment, it was moved by the Honourable Senator Moncion, seconded by the Honourable Senatrice Dupuis, that Bill C